Well, Wayne McCoy is the latest Florida State Seminole to enter the transfer portal, meaning there's over 30 players now heading out. Florida State has a lot they have to do, starting with the coaching staff, and those checks, those NIL checks, they got to be backed up by the administration too.
You are Locked On Seminoles, your daily podcast on the Florida State Seminoles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Back into a live edition of Locked On Seminoles. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football recruiting analyst. Thank you for making Locked On Seminoles your first listen each and every day right here on the nation's #1 podcasting network, Locked On. We're going to be discussing the Desir twins and why they are such a major motivating factor, not only for fans and boosters, but for anybody to have faith in Florida State long term. I'm going to discuss the NIL situation, why the position is so important, and just the charisma that those kind of guys have. There are very few of them. We're going to talk about that later on in this live show. But first, I just want to run down the list. And yes, as I noted in the opening, Wayne McCoy is the latest player to head to the portal. There are over 30 guys that are scholarship players for Florida State are in. I'm going to talk about some of them. I'm going to run down the list. Then there are 7 players, at least as this show starts, that are in the portal or headed to the portal and going to Florida State. It's just getting started. Curious to see where Florida State ends up. I'm guessing 20 plus players, but we'll get into all that. So this isn't a take. I'm just going to do the list. This is an accountant, and anybody that has comments, I've got a bunch of questions and other things to talk about. We'll get into that as well, but this is pretty rough. I don't know where to go, but like Wayne McCoy kind of caught me off guard 5 minutes before I do the show. So just put that in the back of your brain. That's part of the big picture here. They had 3 really good receivers. That makes Florida State hard to guard. Very disappointing to hear that. But here is the list. We'll start off with the guys that are currently heading for FSU. Braden Joyner, interior offensive lineman, center, most likely for the Noles. He played at Purdue last year. He started his career at Auburn. That's a good pickup. That's a guy that can play for you. Had over 700 snaps last year for the Boilermakers. Desirio Riles, a tight end. That's a player you probably don't know much about, but he was at East Carolina. He's an athletic guy that can play H-back. He had a whole bunch of snaps at different positions. We'll get into him a little bit. Quintravion Wisner, running back out of Texas for the last 3 years. Really good player. This is a solid pickup for Florida State in so many different ways. He can catch the ball. He's a guy that had 161 yards rushing against Texas A&M's vaunted defense. He's a dude. Florida State with a really good pickup there. Ryland Kennedy, speaking of A&M, edge defender, was backup for the Aggies the last couple of years. Pretty good player, but they've got a lot of DNs. He didn't get a ton of reps, but he played. He was consistently in the lineup at some point during games, but he wasn't a star. This is a unique player. We'll talk more about Ryland Kennedy in a little bit. Ashton Daniels, if you haven't followed this, I don't know where you've been as a Noles fan, the quarterback, formerly at Stanford, then at Auburn. He has committed to Florida State. He is going to be QB1 next year. Nate Pabst, offensive tackle out of Bowling Green. I love this. Seeing a guy out of the MAC kind of earned his way up the ladder. He's headed to Florida State, 6'5", 315 pounds. And then Nehemiah Chandler, maybe the guy that I'm most excited about because Florida State needs defensive players. They've lost so many. 6'2" corners don't grow on trees. Played at South Alabama last year, put up some pretty good numbers. He's got, I believe, 3 years of eligibility, 6'2", 185. That's a really good player. Now for the long list, and I do mean long, list of players that are headed to the portal from Florida State. Well, Wayne McCoy, we just talked about. Jalen Matthews probably wasn't going to play at Florida State. He's a kid that transferred in this past spring. He didn't make it. Earl Little just hit the portal. That's not good. The safety, that's disappointing. Hopefully Florida State can get him back. Bruno Reyes, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. The kicker is in the portal. Justin Cryer, the linebackers in the portal. Both the Desir twins, Mandrell and Darryll. Obviously, they're in the portal. I'm going to talk a little bit about them in a little bit. Amaree Williams as well. That is not good news. We got Mac Chumiento. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that even close to right. He's going to Texas from Florida State. KJ Sampson is going to Boston College, the former defensive lineman for the Noles. Ty Hilton is in the portal, offensive tackle. Lucas Simmons, another tackle in the portal. Gavin Sawchuk in the portal. Manessa Etete, he is in the portal, offensive lineman. Javen Boggs, disappointing. He's a wide receiver. James Williams didn't really produce a ton. He's in the portal. Brock Glenn, we knew he wasn't going to be the guy in the portal. Elijah Moore, heard a lot about him, never played. Jalen King, same thing. Jason Jenkins was solid at points this past year. He was from Tennessee, came to Florida State. Now he is transferring to Mississippi State. Randy Pittman, I'm surprised he hasn't figured where he's going yet. That's going to be a very coveted H-back / tight end. He's in the portal. Omar Graham has left Florida State. Jaden Jones, same thing. Good luck to him. He's a good guy. Earned his shot after being a JUCO kid at Florida State. Cam Davis is going to Liberty. Kai Bates, he is going to Wisconsin, the corner. Camden Fryer has not picked a school yet. Either has Willie Suarez. Edwin Joseph has not picked a school yet. The safety out of South Florida. Jalen Lucas is headed to Tulane. He's from the state of Louisiana. That's not shocking. Jamori Flagg in the portal, and so is Tylen Coleman. Both those guys, interior defensive linemen. Mario Nash headed to Mississippi State. Not surprising. He's a Mississippi kid. Jesse Harold has not picked a school yet, and neither has Jaden Parrish. Harold is from Tampa. Parrish is a South Florida kid. So that's the list. Now it's time for a little bit of analysis. I just want to give a few stats, nothing like shocking or anything like that, but there are a few players that I think we need to talk about a little bit more in particular. Matter of fact, I'm going to share my screen here. Let's find a little bit more information. Riles may be the most important guy for you all to know more about, because again, I did a show on this earlier today if you want to check out some of the players, but I want to show this again. He's a guy that can play all the spots. And if you're going to play a hurry-up offense like the Noles under Gus Malzahn will do, you need to have a tight end that can move from H-back to fullback to inline tight end to slot, move around, no hesitation. Can't substitute out for that player, because then the defense can substitute out as well. So this is not surprising, but Gus always seems to have a tight end that can do this kind of stuff. And good for him. I don't know which guys or gals in the back office help figure this out, but here are the numbers with East Carolina and what they did. I'm not sure if he's a guy that is really going to be dominant or anything like that. But again, he can play in a lot of different spots for you. And here are his grades. As a pass blocker, he's just okay, but he's a tight end. I'm not really worried about all that. Offensively, as a pass catcher, he's close to a 70 grade overall. And he had plenty of opportunities to get, I'll get into the receptions and all that in a second, but he had plenty of opportunities to play. He started for most of the season. He's a good player in that regard, but let's look at the receiving numbers. If you add him with Landon Thomas, you're going to be in a pretty good spot. He had 28 catches for 362 yards, 13 yards a catch, and a couple scores for East Carolina. That's a good sign. Florida State needs more production from the tight end spot, need more guys to stay healthy. Landon hopefully will be healthy this next season. He's coming back now. You put him with Riles, that's a pretty good combination. So Florida State's got a 1-2. Lofton, maybe somebody else. I don't know if they'll take another tight end. I would assume they will. This could be a better room than I thought. Getting Thomas back was good. Now getting Riles, it's gone from to, hey, this could be pretty good really quick. And that's why the transfer portal is so wild. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit about what's going on overall with the Desir twins and my thoughts on that. We'll get into it a little bit. It's a little concerning, but if Florida State somehow gets those two back, and hopefully Amaree Williams as well, could there be some hope for Florida State in 2026? That is next here on Locked On Seminoles. Today's show is brought to you by Rocket Money. Let's be real, managing your finances can feel overwhelming between subscriptions that you forget about, the bills going up, and everything. You're just trying to figure out what's going on with your money in general. You don't need to have to go through and try to figure out what's going on with subscriptions and spending money that really you're not utilizing that asset. I know I do it that way sometimes. I forget about stuff like Netflix or whatever. I'm not using it. After I subscribe, then boom, Amazon or whatever it is, some show that I watch, I forget about it. Show ends. 2 months later, I've realized, hey, I've been paying for this. I'm sure you've all been there in some capacity, and Rocket Money can help you get past this. So let Rocket Money help you reach your financial goals. Join rocketmoney.com/locked-on, rocketmoney.com/locked-on. That's rocketmoney.com/locked-on. If you want to take your game to the next level, check out the Everydayer Club down in the description. I've got the link down there. Get your audio with no ads for $5 a month or $50 a year. And you also get a Discord and other things. Check it out down below in the description. Here's my take on the Desir twins and everything that's going on. This is straightforward, and you can take it for whatever it's worth. There's been reported, Noles 24/7 and other outlets, that there's a gap in the payment. Now, I have no idea what they're asking for individually, collectively, whatever it may be. Having stated that, they're obviously good. They're obviously young players. They've got 3 years of eligibility apiece. They play critical positions at defensive end. And quite frankly, they embody what every college football team needs. Power players that play 100 mile an hour and want to rep the helmet. They want to rep the helmet. This is the rarest of the rare. It reminds me of when Jimbo was rolling, when Bobby was rolling. Florida State always had defensive guys that just loved wearing the helmet. They wanted to come play for Florida State. Now, again, I don't know what the money is, but something tells me Florida State's not in a position of power here. And here's what I mean. If you don't get the Desir twins to come back, those are South Florida kids. They played at Norland High School. Those are young men that were kind of like under the radar, got late offers, took the Florida State offer. They wanted to come here. They waited it out. If you lose them, it's just a bad look, man. It's just a bad look. And again, they may have to overpay to keep them per market value. But I mean, one's a freshman All-American and the other one was close to it. How much are you really overpaying? How many other guys are you going to get in the portal that are similar to either one of Darryll or Mandrell Desir? How many? I don't think there's going to be many at all. Just my opinion, but I don't like where that's going right now. And to be really honest with you, it's not very easy for Florida State or anybody else for that matter to get the right players at defensive line because there just aren't many in the portal. And the good ones that go in are being completely overpaid by Texas Tech. That's their MO. That's how they're going to try to make it roll. And if you just put those two guys with Kevin Wynn, Amaree, like that's a pretty good front line. And all those guys are young. Like Florida State would have one of the best core groups of young defensive linemen in the country. They need something to hang their hat on. Kevin Wynn's a Central Georgia kid. Amaree and both the Desir twins, they're from South Florida. Like these are the areas that Florida State needs to win at. Wynn's not in the portal, at least not to my knowledge, but the other three are. You have to put reverse course on this. I don't know the keys to it or whatever, but Florida State is not in a position at all to lose one of those guys, let alone all three. Some way, some shape or form, they've got to make that happen. Even if, and I said this earlier today on my other show, even if this means you're going in the red, this is perception versus just the checkbook. You got to find the money. I'm not saying they don't need to negotiate or want to do the best they can, sure, but they got to find the money. Florida State's defense next year could be a sieve because think about all the guys that they've lost. I mean, Big Darrell's gone. James Williams transferred. Jaden, not that he was great, but he's gone. Your linebacker room wasn't good to begin with. Justin Cryer's in the portal. Omar Graham's in the portal. Nicholson's back, but you don't have a whole lot else that has any experience. Your secondary, it's not exactly in a great spot either. Kai Bates, that's one of your depth pieces. He's gone. You're losing a few other guys for the safety room, etc. Like you could lose your top four safeties. This isn't a great spot here. You need something to hang your hat on. I say again, come hell, come high water, they've got to find a way to get the Desir twins back, and quite honestly, Amaree as well. If they don't, when Florida State goes 5-7 next year or something similar and disappoints incredibly, and literally people are calling out administrators when they're out in public or their family members, and I don't suggest any of this, but it's going to happen. Don't be surprised when you hear these kinds of stories. Florida State fans are fed up. They're tired of hearing they're going to pay, and then they don't. It's time to actually do what you said you were going to do and quote unquote support Mike Norvell and give him a roster that can help him compete for quote unquote championships. What they're doing right now is not doing that. They're going to have to overpay to replace these guys, and it's not a very good option to get these guys in terms of level talent out of the portal. It's not. There's all kinds of talent in the portal, but D-line and O-line, those two spots, it's just limited. The Desir twins and Amaree, like, there may not be a school in the country that has lost as many good young defensive players as Florida State. That is not a good sign. So with that, I will jump here into the chat. Oh my, we got a ton of comments. Good night. Not surprised by that, but nonetheless, what we got here? The Elite Coalition. Sounds like Florida State is in the Quay Rousseau and Keon Keeley sweepstakes. Replace the twins with one or both of them and Damon Wilson and We Cookie. Let me just speak on that. I will be shocked if Keeley doesn't go to Notre Dame. He's visiting Notre Dame Wednesday. That's where he originally committed. Good luck. Rousseau is interesting. That's a kid. He's from Montgomery, Alabama. That's possible. I don't know what the deal is on why he's leaving Bama. That's interesting. Keeley, I don't know what the deal is. He's also leaving Bama, but we'll see. Damon Wilson would be extremely expensive, like through the roof expensive. If they got any one of the three, they'd be doing well. But Wilson, that's going to be like $2 million or more. Do you think Florida State's going to spend that much? I do not. Prove me wrong. Why not just add Reggie White and Warren Sapp while you're at it? I don't know what Chris is talking about there, but whatever, buddy. Bowden's flip phone. FSU fans act like the portal issues are just in Tallahassee. There are over 4,200 players in the portal. It's insane, by the way. That's a good point. Every team is facing issues. This is not about Norvell. It is an epidemic led by agents and parents. Let me add to that. By third uncles and morons around some of these kids are telling them you should get in the portal because they're just looking to make some money off people that are players. Let me throw that in there as well. Let's see. 81 Dugan. Desir brothers, we want y'all back. 100%. 100%. Bowden's flip phone. Desir brothers have agents driving this conversation. Florida State renegotiated their deals very recently. At some point, you have to say enough is enough. Well, that's true in general. It's the same thing I said a minute ago. Who are you replacing them with? You really think you're getting Damon Wilson or Keeley or whatever? Good luck. Good luck. And again, it's where they're from. It's what they represent, their style of play, their size, like all those things. It's not easy. Bowden's flip phone. Don't get me wrong. I think the Desir twins are talented, especially Mandrell for real. That being said, they did not benefit a lot from having DJ take 2 to 3 offensive linemen. They did, benefit. Yeah, like Darryll Jackson. That guy was an animal, no doubt. The Elite Coalition, Bowden flip phone gets it. I understand what they're saying, but you're going to go down on defense even further than what they did. And remember, the last game the Florida State played, they gave up 266 yards the ball. Some people act like the Desirs are irreplaceable. If they get Keon, Keeley, and Quay Russo on their visit tomorrow, then they can kick rocks. Not quite that simple. It's crazy. These players are just chasing money at this point. The Twins are good, but hearing a report that they reneged on a deal is alarming because if that's true, they will do it again next season. That's every team has to face that to a certain degree, and there's really not much you can do about it. We'll see. Let's see. William Clinkscales. Every player and agent feels they can jump in the portal and get more money out of the schools. At some point, schools have to show that's not the case. With D linemen, it is, though. O linemen and D linemen have a completely different situation than wide receivers, DBs, because of size. It's a numbers game, not just height, weight, but in terms of just how many there are that can play D-line, O-line. It's like 5 to 10 to 1. How many corners are in the portal or receivers, running backs compared to linemen. It's a totally different game. The Elite Coalition, F them because these reeks of what Patrick Payton did, among others. I need to know that for sure, and I have no idea. Let me see. Bowden's flip phone. McCoy just went in also. Yes, he did. How much are you going to pay for a wide receiver 3 in Gus's offense? He had 27 catches for 400 yards. He is solid, sure, but how much was he asking? We don't know. That's a good question, too. He probably thinks he's better than a number 3. That's the other thing. That might be why he's leaving more than the money. We don't know. And if that's the case, I'm not going to be mad at McCoy. I'm not going to be mad at him. William McMillan. Any news on the offensive tackle from Louisiana? From what I read, it sounds like FSU wasn't sold on him just yet. I think that was Noles 24/7. Not sure who else has proved that, but that's an interesting point. Why do you want to keep any players with the record we have for the last 2 seasons? Let them all go. The key word there you said, Super Elvis, is all. You can't lose every player. That's not realistic. Let's see. Leon, Brian, they added okay players, but it seems Florida State is not spending like they told us in the press conference. Florida State's losing season again. Like, I like the players that Florida State's added so far. That's not my problem. It's the players they've let walk. I think they're playing a very dangerous game of chicken. Seminole SC. Man, it's a sad time to be a Florida State fan, and I'm not really seeing how we pick up the pieces anytime soon. Let's see. The Purdue center led the country in pressures allowed for centers. Well, if you play for Purdue's offensive line, you probably would. Luke, how in the frick do you not pay guys, the Desir twins and Wayne, Amir, whatever the heck they want. Makes no sense. So we obviously have some disagreement here. Florida State has I paid the Norvell tax overspend to get players. I can't see 2-10 again with this roster. I don't think it's going to be 2-10. Pay them whatever they want, huh? No, I didn't say whatever they want. Nobody's saying that. Anybody that does is out of their mind, and don't put words in my mouth. They got to find a way to find common ground, though. They can't let them leave. Seminole SC, we don't have that much NIL compared to a lot of the country. We can't pay everyone what they want, but if we had some sort of winning culture going on, then some of these kids would probably stay. That's one of the reasons I wanted the Desir twins. Like, they really want to rep the Florida State helmet, the brand. You can tell how they play at their press conferences and all that. I think that's really important. The Purdue Center played against Indiana, Ohio State, Notre Dame, Michigan, Illinois, and others. Purdue had the third most difficult schedule. He was all freshman SEC. He's a pretty good player. Let's see. The Twins can go to an SEC program and never play again. They'll play wherever they go, brother. They're talented. Samuel Gibson, we hardly have no team left. Was Norvell worth it? No, but he's helping balance the budget because of that $54 million. Let's see. Lofton's brother, tight end from Kansas State, is coming for a visit tomorrow to Florida State. That would be intriguing. William McMillan, they must keep the twins, McCoy and Earl Little. Earl Little going to the portal is not a great thing either. That's a good point. Let's see. Recruiting overlord, with all due respect, Guzzett doesn't run the offense. He runs an organized scramble drill. I'm clearly not a fan. You're not the first one to say something like that, but that's a pretty good way to put it. Let's see. Mike Dinkinger. John Harbaugh and Mike McCarthy are now out there on the job market. Alfred, are you out here and listening? I mean, do you have any idea what it costs to pay those guys? And you'd have to flip the rock. Like, those guys aren't coming to recruit and deal with NIL either. They're just not. Samuel Gibson, with the money we're going to lose at games in the long run, we're going to lose more than if we would have just fired Mike Norvell. Plus, we got to overpay for players. In the portal, you will. Absolutely. Absolutely. Let's see here. Damon Wilson, Quay Russo, and Keon Keeley. I don't see I don't know what he's referring to. I'm not sure what you're referring to. They're not getting those three guys, is my strong guess. Expect more. Alford is afraid to overpay legally. He is killing Florida State in the NIL game. Galaxy King, I told you this would happen. When you negotiate with the portal threats, you will have more do it. Players talk. Some of that's probably true. Clean Music Lover, we should go after left tackle Jacorius Peak. He's from Valdosta. They would never come to Florida State nor probably college football. I don't know what you're referring to. Breakdown 48-62. How many games does Norvell need to win next year to keep his job? I'm not sure he's getting fired even if he goes 4-8 because I still think the contract's too big. That's my concern. Let's see. Bowden's foot phone. Earl can hit, but missed a lot of tackles. Facts. Poor tackling fundamentals. Watch the Indiana linebackers wrap and drive guys to the ground. Earl and the Florida State guys are more interested in the boom big hit. It's not wrong. DeAndre Merrick's, if we continue paying the players that left, how much money do we have to spend on new players? That's the debatable issue. I don't know what Florida State's starting with, so I couldn't answer you. How long can college football operate this way? That's from Chip B. Knoll Blooded. I don't know, because the NCAA is not helping itself. They're not policing anything. Like that so-called cap, that's garbage. You're going to tell me Texas Tech just spent $5 million on Brendan Sorsby and they're going to stay under the cap? Get out of here. They just added the number one defensive tackle. They added another defensive lineman already. No, it's not happening. They're completely going over the cap. So it is what it is. Let's see. All right, let's talk about this. What returning offensive line from Florida State's 225 team are ready to play? Sandman, Andre Otto. I would imagine there's a couple others guys that they think can play. I thought Mario Nash was going to be one of them, but he just transferred to Mississippi State. We'll see. I'm not sure because the veteran guys this past year they brought 4 guys in and one guy that stayed over from the year before from transfer, got all the reps. It's a great question. That's from Bowden's Foot Phone. I don't know for sure. I really don't. Andre Bugs, no defense. Shaking my head. Like right now, Florida State's defense for next year's, it's concerning. Again, they lost a plethora of guys, and it depends on who they can get back out of the portal. But are they going to get any of them? Are they going to spend the money? They're going to negotiate in a way they can come back based on incentives or something? I don't know. Breakdown 48-62. Interested in the running back rotation. We have solid backs, but who will get the majority of the touches? That's a great question because Florida State does have a pretty good room. So Wayne 224, what's going on, man? Well, Wayne in the portal. Yes, indeed he is. I'm curious if it's McCoy going in the portal because he wants to be like the number 2 or number 1 guy somewhere. I get it. If I find that out, there's nothing you can do about it. Mekhi Danzy and Deuce Robinson might get more touches. I don't know, but it is what it is. Mike Dinkinger, I would love to hear what Derek Brooks thinks of our situation and our defensive inability to rush the passer or tackle in the backfield. I don't know how many former Noles really comment on this stuff. It's always touchy when players give negative thoughts on the program, but some of them will do it. Robert Jackson, 9348. Okay, I have to say it. Gus Malzahn's offense is outdated. This is Florida. Wide receivers, DBs, and running backs. Langston, 7350. I am torn on Earl Little leaving. He could be better, but is he worth the pay bump? It's a quality question. Is Earl Little going to be really good for Florida State next year? If he comes back, I don't know. I'm not sure he's an NFL guy because I don't think he can cover well enough. So he needs to get paid in college. I think he might make the NFL as a special teams guy for a couple of years or something, but I don't know if he can cover well enough. But at college, he's pretty good if he wants to put in the time and do a better job tackling and put a little more effort into the coverage. We'll see. Leon Monzon, FSU can't get big players with Norvell as coach. With his record, defense is going to suck again. Right now it is. Kale Rocks. No sane person would believe after all of this was cheaper and more reasonable in the long run when you add up the retention, recruiting costs, and all the extra people doing Mike's job for him. I've been banging that drum forever. Like, it's going to cost them more in the long run, but I think it's the men that's here trying to save their jobs for as long as they can, which I don't know how much longer that's going to be, but there needs to be an overhaul at Florida State, obviously. Joanne, I wonder if this mass exodus is a rebellion of Norvell being head coach or money grab because we're bad and administration wanted to keep Norvell. It's a quality question as well. Deontay, if running backs rotate like last year, I will throw up. In 5 plays, I watched 3 running backs get rotated. We need to find 2 running backs, and that's it. They got to do something different than they did last year. I know that. Leon, Florida State can't get big-time players. Mike Norvell has head coach record and can't develop any players. Langston, I think if Norvell goes 4-8, they have to fire him. The fans will really revolt. Like, the fans are already revolting is the thing. Come on, it's about the money. It is everywhere, not just Florida State. Oh, I'm not saying this is only a Florida State problem. Let me be clear. But at the same time, Florida State's losing key guys that are young players. It's going to hurt them for years and years and years. That's pretty hard to swallow. Andre Bugs, can we land a kicker because they're going to need it? Special teams can save a few games. It's a good question. I would assume that's on the list, but Florida State needs to figure that out sooner than later. All right. With that, one final thought here, and I'll wrap it up. Just to be clear, and thank you to everybody that showed up for the chat tonight. Florida State, next 48 hours, we're going to learn a lot about the program. The Desir twins, if they go officially in the portal, they're going to have a lot of options. Same with Amaree, et cetera, et cetera. If they don't get a few of the guys that have announced they're going into the portal back, what's going to happen to Florida State? Again, like many of you, and rightfully so, in the chat have stated, If you lose that player, you might get somebody comparable in the portal. It's possible. It's possible. But what are you going to pay for them? Probably even more. And that's somebody that's got to learn the system and everything else too. This is a tough spot for Florida State. All right. With that, I'm going to wrap it up here. Thank you very much for checking out Locked On Seminoles. We will be back. Probably have a show again tomorrow. Probably doing 2 shows most of the days this week. There's no given time when I'm going to announce because it just depends on when guys announce they're coming or going. But hopefully I'll have some more news later on tomorrow afternoon, in addition to a show tomorrow morning. I'm going to put this show up for tomorrow morning show. But thank you very much for checking out Locked On Seminoles. If you have not already, please like and subscribe.